Did you know Australia is the only continent in the world occupied by a single nation? Talk about taking social distancing to a whole new level. Welcome to the land down under, a place where the sun shines a bit brighter, the landscapes are a bit wilder, and the wildlife, well, let's just say it's an adventure in itself. Australia, with its sun-kissed beaches, vast deserts, and unique wildlife, is indeed a continent of its own. But what makes it even more remarkable is that it's the only continent occupied by a single nation. Yep, you heard that right. One continent, one country. Now you might be thinking, wait a second, isn't that a bit lonely? Well, not exactly. You see, Australians have a knack for making the most of what they've got. They've transformed this vast expanse of land into a thriving nation that's as diverse as it is unified. From the buzzing metropolises of Sydney and Melbourne to the remote outback towns, Australia is a testament to the power of unity and determination. It's a place where the spirit of mateship runs deep, and everyone pulls together to make things work. And let's not forget about the wildlife. Kangaroos, koalas, wombats, you name it, Australia's got it. These unique creatures add a touch of the wild to the landscape, making Australia a truly one-of-a-kind destination. But perhaps the most humorous way to look at Australia's unique status is to consider it in the context of social distancing. In a world where we're all trying to keep a safe distance from each other, Australia seems to have been practicing this for centuries. With an average of just 3 people per square kilometer, it's safe to say that Australians have mastered the art of keeping their personal space. So there you have it, folks. A land of contrasts, a land of unity, a land of unique creatures, and most importantly, a land where social distancing is a way of life. So, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed by the crowds, you might want to consider relocating to Australia. If you thought your city was crowded, imagine living in a place where kangaroos outnumber humans 2 to 1. Welcome to Australia, or as we like to call it, Kangarooopolis. Now picture this, you're sipping your morning coffee, maybe munching on some toast, and you glance outside your window, and what do you see? Not a delivery truck, not your neighbor walking their dog. No, you see a mob of kangaroos hopping about, going about their daily routine. That's a common sight here in Australia, where the kangaroo population is not just abundant, it's positively thriving. Let's delve a little deeper into this. Kangaroos in Australia are so plentiful, they're an integral part of our daily life. You might think it's a joke, but let me assure you it's not. We're not saying you'll find a kangaroo serving you your morning latte, but it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. Imagine, if you will, a kangaroo as your barista. Picture its strong tail working the espresso machine, its muscular forelimbs steaming the milk, and that pouch, oh, it's not just for joeys, it's the perfect storage for all those coffee beans. Talk about a kangaroo. Brew. Moving on from our caffeine-infused scenarios, let's take a look at transportation. We've all had that moment, stuck in traffic, drumming our fingers on the steering wheel, wishing we could just hop over the cars in front of us. Well, in Kangarooopolis, that's exactly what happens. Traffic jams are a whole different ballgame when kangaroos are involved. Picture a kangaroo traffic officer using its powerful hind legs to leap into action, directing cars and kangaroos alike with a swift flick of its ears. But it's not just about the hustle and bustle of city life. Kangaroos are also a part of the more mundane, everyday scenarios. Picture this, a kangaroo school bus driver. Yes, you heard that right. A kangaroo, with its joey passengers safely tucked in its pouch, hopping along the school route, picking up little kangaroo students along the way. It's a sight that would certainly make the morning school run a lot more interesting. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is all just a bit of fun, right? Well, while these scenarios are indeed imagined, the fact remains that kangaroos are a big part of Australian life. They're a symbol of our country, an icon that's recognized worldwide. And yes, they do outnumber us 2 to 1. So while we might not have kangaroo baristas or traffic officers just yet, who knows what the future holds. So next time you're stuck in traffic, just be grateful you're not being tailgated by a kangaroo. Australia, where even the cute, cuddly animals can kill you. That's right, folks. Australia, the land of sun, surf, and super deadly creatures. Don't be fooled by the stunning beaches and adorable wildlife. This place is a survivalist's dream and a city slicker's nightmare. Let's start with the ocean. You're thinking about taking a dip, right? Cooling off in the crystal clear waters? Well, think again. Lurking beneath the surface are some of the most venomous creatures on the planet. Take the box jellyfish, for instance. This gelatinous terror is responsible for more deaths in Australia than sharks, crocodiles, and stonefish combined. Its venom can cause cardiac arrest in victims, and it's virtually invisible in the water. But hey, maybe you're more of a landlubber. No worries, Australia's got you covered. Meet the inland taipan, the world's most venomous snake. One bite from this slithering assassin can kill 100 grown men. It's shy and prefers to avoid humans, but if you stumble upon it, well, let's just say it won't be a pleasant encounter. And then there's the Sydney funnel web spider. This 8-legged nightmare can survive underwater for several hours and has fangs strong enough to pierce a toenail. If you're bitten and untreated, well, you've got about 15 minutes to live. But hey, no pressure. Let's not forget the creatures that fly. The saltwater crocodile, also known as the salty, is the world's largest living crocodile and can leap up from the water to snatch low-flying birds. And remember, they're not fussy eaters, so if you're dangling a tempting limb over the water's edge, you might just become lunch. Now you're probably thinking, okay, I'll just stick to the cute cuddly animals. Well, let me introduce you to the koala. Yes, that's right, even the seemingly innocent koala isn't all it appears to be. Did you know they have incredibly sharp claws that can cause serious injury? And let's not get started on their temper when they're disturbed from their nap. But don't let all this scare you away. Australia is still one of the most beautiful places in the world, filled with breathtaking landscapes and vibrant cities. The locals are friendly, the food is fantastic, and the weather is mostly sunny. Just remember, this isn't a petting zoo. These creatures demand respect, and if you give it to them, they'll mostly leave you alone. It's all about understanding and respecting the balance of nature. So pack your bags, grab your sense of adventure, and head down under. Just remember to look, don't touch, and keep your distance. And always keep in mind, in Australia, even the butterflies probably have knives. Australia, the only place on Earth to have gone to war with emus and lost. Let's set the stage. It's the early 1930s, Western Australia to be precise. The Great Depression is in full swing, and the Australian government is grappling with how to support their struggling farmers. The solution? Declare war on emus. Yes, you heard right, emus. Those giant, goofy-looking, flightless birds native to Australia. In the 1930s, Australia was home to a whopping estimated 20,000 emus. These guys had a serious appetite and were causing havoc for farmers by ravaging their wheat crops. You see, after their breeding season, these birds would swoop down in droves from the inland regions to the coast, trampling and feasting on the crops in their path. Desperate and frustrated, these farmers appealed to the government for help. And so, the Australian military, armed with machine guns, was dispatched to the Western Australian Outback to wage a war against the emus. The operation was led by Major G.P.W. Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery. Sounds like a walk in the park, right? Well, not exactly. Turns out emus are surprisingly resilient creatures. They can run at speeds of up to 30 miles per hour and easily scatter when threatened, making them tough targets. The soldiers soon discovered that their machine guns were no match for these fast and agile birds. The first encounter with the emus, the Battle of Campion, was a complete failure. The soldiers managed to gun down a meager dozen or so emus out of a horde of 50. The emus, on the other hand, seemed to brush off the bullets like pesky mosquitoes and continued on their destructive path. The following operations didn't fare much better, and the military found themselves outmaneuvered and outpaced by the emus at every turn. The public reaction to the war was mixed. Some found the whole thing utterly hilarious, while others were appalled at the waste of military resources. The government, embarrassed by the debacle, decided to withdraw the military. The war was over, and the emus had won. In a twist of irony, after the war, the government introduced a bounty system which proved to be much more effective in controlling the emu population. Farmers would receive a fee for every emu they killed, leading to the culling of thousands of emus each year. So yes, the Great Emu War was a thing that really happened. It's a quirky and somewhat embarrassing footnote in Australian history, but it's also a testament to the resilience and tenacity of Australia's wildlife. So, if you ever feel like you're having a bad day, just remember, at least you didn't lose a war to a bunch of flightless birds. Australia, where you can take a road trip and still be in the same country a week later. Let's talk size, shall we? Now we all know that Australia is a big place, but when we say big, we're not merely talking about a few extra miles here and there. No, Australia is the 6th largest country in the world. That's right, 6th. You could fit a multitude of smaller nations within its borders and still have room to spare. Imagine this, if Australia were a storage unit, you could comfortably fit the entirety of Western Europe inside. And guess what? There'd still be space left. You could toss in an extra United Kingdom or perhaps a couple of Greeces for good measure. But let's not stop there. Picture this. You're standing on the East Coast, staring out at the Pacific Ocean, and you decide to go on a drive to the West Coast. You pack your bags, hop in your car, and start driving. Days pass, landscapes change, You've got countless playlists on repeat. And yet, you're still in Australia. To put it in perspective, this cross-country journey is roughly equivalent to driving from Lisbon, Portugal, all the way to Moscow, Russia. Now that's a whole lot of driving, isn't it? And let's not forget about the population, or rather the lack thereof. Despite being so enormous, Australia is home to just over 25 million people. That's less than the population of Texas. Imagine having all that space to yourself. So what does this all mean? Well, it means that Australia is a land of extremes, a place where vast, sprawling deserts meet lush, vibrant rainforests, where bustling metropolitan cities are just a stone's throw away from serene, untouched wilderness, a place where you can drive for days and still be in the same country. So next time you're planning a road trip in Australia, you might want to pack an extra suitcase. Or 5. Alright, let's put another shrimp on the Barbie as we recap what we've learned today. First stop was the land down under, where we found out that Australia isn't just a country, but an entire continent too, and the only one that's governed as a single entity at that. It's like the Swiss Army knife of geographical entities, compact yet brimming with features. Then we hopped on over to Kangarooopolis. Yes, you heard that right. Australia is home to more kangaroos than people. That's a whole lot of marsupials bouncing around. Makes you wonder who has the right of way at crosswalks, doesn't it? Next, we took a deep dive into Australia's deadly denizens. From venomous spiders to stealthy saltwater crocodiles, Australia sure knows how to keep things exciting. It's like a real-life action movie, but without the need for CGI. We then turned back the pages of history to the Great Emu War. It was man versus bird in a showdown that, well, didn't exactly end in humanity's favor. You gotta hand it to those emus, they sure know how to stand their ground. And finally we discovered Australia's size surprise. It might look small on the map, but Australia is almost as big as United States. That's a lot of ground to cover on your next road trip. Better start planning now. So there you have it, folks. Australia. The land of kangaroo traffic jams, deadly cuddly creatures, emu adversaries, and never-ending road trips. That doesn't sound like an adventure, I don't know what does. And that's it for today's Aussie adventure. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Nation Nibbles, for more fun and informative videos about countries around the world.